Hello, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. I am not. I just spent a whole bunch of time watching Concord gameplay video. Oh my god. Talk about boring. Unsurprisingly, Concord's launch is worse than expected. The only reason I watched any of that is because I wanted to be sure that I had an opinion based on things I'd seen myself. I'll link one of the videos I watched. There's a guy who went through and played each character, Kozu. And so it's like a 2-hour long video. I think I made it in about an hour before I'm like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. I really kind of wish I was a games journalist, because then I could just report on it without ever actually trying to do any real research. But no, I have to try to pretend to have integrity. Go figure, huh? So if you weren't a games journalist, you would have understood from the beginning that this launch was going to be abysmal, but I do think that nobody anticipated it being quite this bad. Concord can't get past 1,000 players. It can't even reach 700 to this point. It's peaked at 697 players playing right now, which is 2 a.m. Mountain Time in the US. There is 267 players. Now, when the people wake up, there might be some more. However, I wouldn't anticipate it. This is no Black Myth Wukong. I don't think it's going to make it, guys. Like I said, I spent at least an hour watching various gameplay of the characters. I had Sheep over here, who is the resident FPS player in the house, explaining to me what he thought of it, and of course I have my own thoughts. His responses were generally, Overwatch did it better. This is where I have to give Overwatch credit. Overwatch gave their characters more personality. Overwatch did... Basically, it was all about Overwatch and how much better it was than this game. I asked him if he would pay $40 to play this game before I got through the sentence. He said no. I asked him if he'd try if it was free. He said he'd give it a try if it was free. But after watching it for a while, I think that he probably wouldn't do that either, realistically, because Overwatch, which he doesn't play anymore either, the characters all look different from each other, but the play style seems very samey between character types. The guns don't seem to have enough range variety, in my opinion. Someone who had what could be considered a automatic could shoot just as far as the person who had the rifle, and that didn't set well with me. I mean, there should be a variety in terms of distance they can shoot, just for variety's sake. I mean, you should have a mid-range gun, you should have a long-range gun, and then you have the short-range people as well. And the guns just felt very samey. Even the large characters, the one character that really felt like it had a motion difference is the Samari. Her movement speed was definitely slower. Even the gun seemed to shoot slower. And the problem with her, I found, was as a tank-like character, supposedly, if she was going to be a shield, her shield looked too small. But some of that I may not have understood just from watching the gameplay. There may have been some more nuance that I didn't quite pick up. Watching this guy play, for example, the Star Child, while bigger, he seemed very floaty. It didn't make sense for his movement to be what it was. He was keeping up with the other characters, even though he seemed to have a slower animation. Was not impressed. The same with this character. One off. He seemed too fast for his size. I didn't get the same clunky movement I felt like you should get from him, which, I mean, that might be me overanalyzing from my, whole RPG position on things. But in my opinion, if you're going to make characters look different, they should play differently. Or else what's the point? Everything did feel very samey, though. Even with this gun, the air gun he has, it didn't seem to fit right. They at least have some rebalancing they have to go in and do before it really goes anywhere. That said, of course, we've been having all sorts of hilarious tweets today from all sorts of people who are very unhappy about the way this is going down. You have Tom Warren, who we've already determined doesn't exactly have a huge amount of integrity, asking if the Steam database chart for Concord broken, because surely there are more than 500 people playing it on Steam right now. No, probably not. You have entertaining tweets from Paul Tassi. I have been waiting several hours for Concord to break 700, and it has not happened yet. And it's almost. I'm really wondering what the peak is today. It could be less than the open beta at 2300. And then it started going back down. Okay, I just got out of a movie, and there's no way this is right? I'm not even trying to be mean. It genuinely doesn't make sense to be this low. I've never seen anything like this. So he goes to the movie, and it drops even further, down to 571. You have Gene Park down here in the comment. You know what's crazy? Our goddamn stupid articles usually have more concurrent readers than this. That's sad. Savvy makes an excellent point. Where's the target audience? They've clearly catered to a specific demographic, and I think it's important to discuss why it's failing to capture that audience. No single person, bad review, or chuckles on Twitter is going to control how other people spend their money. If anything, it led to a lot of people defending it, so why didn't they buy it? And I will say, the fact that it's a hero shooter, and a hero shooter in which you have to pay $40 for, when you have free ones that are popular and already captured the market, really does not help it. The fact that it reached the 600s, nearly 700s, probably they should be thankful for. That sounds awful, but it kind of is what it is. I will say this is an interesting take in response to the Insider Gamer article we were just looking at. This person says, of course it did. The horribly out-of-touch execs at Sony thought a $40 hero shooter that lacked depth and variety was going to crush it in a market that is so oversaturated and has better alternatives for free. It's a fucking embarrassment. I feel so bad for Firewalk because they got brought on to make this game by Sony, and Lord knows Sony's going to nuke that studio. Someone goes on to say this game has been made for 8 years now. This is the game they wanted to make. Blaming it on Sony is objectively wrong. And the Redbeard Mortis responds, but they published the game. They ultimately have final say and authority to dictate the direction of the project. Firewalk didn't self-publish, but I wish they did. And then this guy's basically saying if they self-published, they would have been able to decide what the price is. So first it seems like he's saying that this is Sony's fault for deciding this is what the game should be. Then someone points out that no, this game's been in development for 8 years. So this is the game they wanted to make. And now he's saying that it's just the price alone. If the game had appeared interesting enough, I would bet they would have gotten over 1,000. But realistically, the audience that's trying to be captured here doesn't exist. They haven't for a long time believed that this audience doesn't exist, but the audience they're looking for does not exist. Does it suck for them? Well, it might suck for some of them, but I wouldn't waste a lot of time feeling bad for them. Cyrus2477 found a thread where one of the developers responded. Feller says it's Concord release day, so insanely proud of the team and what they and we have accomplished. A labor of love like nothing else. Been playing it so much since early access started a few days ago, and I'm so excited for it to be available to everyone. And I will be honest, if you spend years developing a game, I am not surprised if you are excited and happy for it to come out. That is a natural, normal response. It is okay to be excited that something that you've worked on for years is out and people get to play it. Now, what's not okay is to go on. This person responds, I'm so sorry this had to be your first. I do not believe it is you or any of the other devs' fault that this game has performed so poorly. I can tell that a lot of effort was put into completing this game. It just came at the wrong time and genre. Free Gunner responds, I don't really care. It was a huge labor from a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game. Why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? I'm sure having fun playing it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Tuggernut respond, talentless freaks, I actually came to drop some positive criticism, but get fucked. Clearly based on the game, you're the one with no talent. Someone, of course, is like me and wants a link to the original post, but unfortunately, it appears it's been deleted and they locked the replies. Of course, that doesn't stop them from this really mature behavior of someone responding. This is the second part of the tweet. I'm so honored to have had this be my first AAA game. Was a huge learning experience, lots of struggles, but I'm glad to have gone through them. Time to play. Then they go through and hide posts, and I would bet money, actually we might go try and check, that these posts are blue checks. And so he's trying to tell people to pay him $8 to unhide their tweet, which that doesn't make sense to me. If anybody wants to see my tweet, they can just go into hidden tweets. It's not like they're hard to find. But that's also why I prefer to retweet in these conversations as opposed to just reply beneath. This guy says, they cooking though. Why don't you pay $8? Sunhide replied, permabanned. Pay $8 to get your replies taken off the highlight reel? Nah. People here actively seek the hidden replies first, before the regular replies. Clever boy. So let me get this straight. You want to pay $5 to have your replies boosted to the top, but you want to pay $5 to have $8 to have your replies unhidden. Wow, this person's really trying hard to make that whole checkmark thing seem like it's something. But honestly, the only reason I pay for it is because I get more characters than the 240 or 250 or whatever, or 280. Whatever. I regularly go over that amount when I'm typing out my thoughts. So that in and of itself is worth the $8 to me. I could care less about the check mark. I could care less about the boosted replies. I do like the less amount of advertisements. But the rest of it, I mainly pay to be able to type more. And you can feel however you want to feel about that, but it's worth it to me. One of the amusing things is the day before the release, you have Cope coming from PC Games N. Despite what we all expected, Concord is off to a pretty strong start. Following a difficult pre-launch build-up, Firewalk's Concord has debuted to positive reviews among its handful of eager access fans. At least they admitted it's only a handful. And it says it's no secret that Concord has been having a hard time. The open beta, which was free to all players unlike the full game, peaked at just 2,388 players on Steam. With how much investment and evidently passion, too, the title has received, it's hard to put a positive spin on it. However, now that it's available for the 72-hour advanced access period, Concord has some of its first Steam reviews, and they're actually surprisingly good. How about we go check those out? I will say, for the 204 reviews, it's currently showing as mostly positive. I think we'll just go ahead and go with Steam purchasers for our thing here. So just here at the top, you have someone who has 11.9 hours in the game. Says this game is fun but not flawless. Since many people online waste your time complaining about things that don't matter, I'll give you my honest complaint about the biggest flaw this game has, in my opinion. The game is made by old Destiny PvP devs, so it somewhat plays like Destiny, but the game follows more of a hero shooter style similar to Overwatch. The problem is the game modes are more like that of Destiny instead of a hero shooter, so the only mode that works well is the King of the Hill style mode. Domination doesn't work, the elimination mode doesn't work, and the basic fast-paced team deathmatch is whatever. Doesn't work, but it's a super casual and good way to warm up or learn a new hero. If the devs realize this game needs modes more focused to the style of gameplay the game has, the game will do better. Right now, all modes but one don't encourage team play, not counting the elimination mode because that mode doesn't belong at all. If they add better game modes and a competitive mode that forces players into VC by default, this game could end up doing well. I will say buy at your own risk, but so far I recommend it at its face value and future potential only. Not exactly a glowing review. The next one says, I agree there shouldn't be a price attached to the game. However, if you really put 2 and 2 together, it'll help developers do what they need to do in order to get it up to speed in terms of where other hero shooters were at their respective launches. As a result of not being free to play, it didn't launch with everything I'm sure they wanted launch to have, and it's lacking in cosmetic variety, only recolorings for both character skins and weapons, and only really one unique look per character so far. All of that aside, I'm enjoying my time with it and learning slowly who I enjoy playing and who I don't. The characters all seem pretty different from one another, while they of course resemble other characters from other games. The comparisons are fairly small in my opinion. I definitely disagree with that. After watching what I've watched, I highly disagree with that. Feels unique, love the vibrancy of the characters and locations, some of which could use some additional clutter around the maps. They feel a little too open/simple. And the visuals and details of the characters and cutscenes could definitely be made into a feature-length movie if they wanted to. think the Old Republic cinematics, but for the Walmart Guardians of the Galaxy, LOL. I enjoy it and would recommend to people getting sick of Overwatch and wanting a new hero shooter to scratch the itch till Marvel Rivals, I suppose. And I will say that is one point I think a lot of people miss that could have helped this game. Instead of everybody focusing on the diversity of the cast and how everybody looks different and blah, 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 pointing out that when you pay for this game, that means you don't then have the microtransactions. I don't know if they plan to do season passes. I vaguely recall talking about that at one point, but I can't dig it back out of my brain right now. But when you pay for a game, that means the devs get that money to then do more things with the game. You have to pay for their work at some point. It's one of those things that frustrates me when people talk about, oh, this game should be free, and then they want more out of the game, but the devs can't do anything more because they're not getting paid. You pay for everything at some point. It's just where you're willing to do it is the question. Do you want to do it through microtransactions? I mean, if you want to do it through microtransactions, that's fine. But then you can't go and complain about microtransactions because that's what you wanted. You wanted to offset the price and pay for it somewhere else as opposed to paying it up front. Now let's look at a couple negative. This person refunded the product. Pricing this train wreck at $40 makes nonsense. Performance is okay and gunplay is fine, but that's the only good things about it. Character design is just depressing to look at. The game's only got 2 game modes at the start, plus 1 unlockable at level 6. Games also always start with a repetitive cutscene and they last like 4 to 5 minutes, so you'll spend more time waiting than playing, which might be good since playing isn't that fun anyway. I'm sorry for the devs of this game. I hope they get a chance to work on another project after this, and I really hope Sony stops this nonsense live service rush. Then some more simple ones: boring, ugly, clunky, bad movement, boring, forgettable maps. They somehow messed up the gunplay and the movement. I want to love this game. Sadly, the outstanding hate for it overshadows anything positive about this game. I do feel that you should wait for this game to get on its feet, go on sale before buying it. As of right now, it's fun, but there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done before I'm willing to purchase again. Main problem right now is it is glitchy during movement, and you lose appeal to the game after 30 minutes of play. I understand this is day 1, but there is nothing to work for right now in the game, so the game feels boring after 1 hour. Okay, this is a positive review, but it's hilarious. Have you ever felt like trash and treated like an outcast of society? Welcome to Concord. You will be represented here as one-off, a literal trash can with legs. You can now have your vengeance against the people who have wronged you. Clean your enemies out one by one like the garbage they are, using your vacuum cleaner gun. Or you could play the person with a bucket on their head. The choices are limitless. I like these balanced reviews, and so many people, I guarantee there will be plenty of people talking about how much hate the game received. And I know we filtered it by people who've actually bought the game, so that might decrease it somewhat. But so far, everything I've read has been reasonably fair. Let me preface by saying Concord is not a bad game. I went into the game with no expectations. I was initially drawn to this game because I am a fan of Destiny. However, I found several aspects of the game itself to be frustrating. Pros: the graphics and presentation are phenomenal. Cutscenes and character acting are superb. Presentation and UI are top-notch. Movement and gunplay feel good. Loved the map design. Cons: PC performance feels spotty even when the recommended specs. Key bindings were frequently unresponsive in combat. No ultimates. Matches feel extremely short. Character designs are hit and miss. The guy I played of reminds me of John Concord. Conclusion: unless you are really itching for a new hero shooter, I'd say wait for a sale. Being online only, I'm a bit concerned as to whether this game will still have an audience several months down the road. It may, but if not, what happens is the people who bought and support the game will have extremely long matchmaking queues, and that's not very fun. I do hope this game succeeds because it's trying to do its own thing, but it just wasn't for me. I can't help but feel requiring the third-party account doesn't help it right now. That is definitely something many PC players are against. I do like that they at least provide a nice big orange notice box so that people aren't caught unawares. But really, we're back to who is this game for? because most of the hero shooters fans already are enjoying their game. They have their game. The people who I feel like this game was designed for probably aren't going to play a hero shooter. I saw nothing in my hour plus of watching that drew me to wanting to play this game. The characters didn't seem interesting. The gameplay itself seemed very repetitive. It just wasn't for me. And I'm not sure who it is for. And the numbers basically say nobody knows who it's for because nobody's playing it. There are there are less than 700 people out there right now who were really into this game. All that said, guys, what do you think of Concord? Is it a game that you want to get in and play? I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Are you surprised at the results? Did you think they were going to be maybe a little higher? Did you think they were going to be worse? I'd like to know your thoughts down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.